I mean, we obviously support the bill. I think there's a huge urgency, actually, in the appointment of a new commissioner, and there's a certain irony in the situation when Martin Callanan resigned, jumped, was pushed, who knows, and Noreen O'Sullivan was eventually appointed for the job. We were told that she was the best person for the job, that it was a full, open competition, open to everybody internationally, and no name on the position. But the very job description that was put forward at that time required a level of knowledge of the functioning of An Garda Síochána which nobody really but Noreen O'Sullivan had at that time. So we warned then that you were on a hiding to nothing by repeating the mistakes of the past, by failing to take on board that there are systemic problems at the top of An Garda Síochána that require a fresh approach. It's not about individuals. It's not about named individuals. It's about institutionalised, I suppose, complacency, a way of working that needs to be broken up. And the only way of breaking that up is by getting fresh blood in from outside. And fresh blood can be somebody who's over the age of 55 and that as well. I believe that a life's experience actually is a good knowledge for a Garda Commissioner to have. But since the resignation of Noreen O'Sullivan, what we've had is somebody else from the old hierarchy stepping into the breach. Donald Coulon steps in and immediately goes and sits in with the lads at a retirement course down the back. And in essence, what we've had is an organisation which has been rudderless since then, because there's nobody at the top, because everybody knows the person who is at the top has no interest in staying there, is sitting in at pre-retirement courses and really hasn't had the energy or the enthusiasm to revitalise this organisation in the way in which it should be. But it's not just about one person. It's about a whole approach of senior management. And I mean, we were at the Justice Committee last week when we had Garda management in dealing with the homicide figures. And it was a lesson, actually, in how, in some ways, nothing has changed. It's quite clear to anybody who watches the proceedings of that Justice Committee, which I thought was very good. I thought the committee equipped itself well, worked cooperatively and constructively in trying to get answers from Garda management on that. But what you saw and what you got an insight into is a very strained relationship between the civilian staff inside An Garda Síochána and senior management, and yet a very good relationship, potentially, between rank and file Gardaí, because I think the head of data analysis, Gurchan Singh, made the point, because unfortunately the committee hearings were on the day of the funeral of Colin Fox, and he made the point that frontline officers like Colin Fox, that they had actually cooperated very well with and shared data. But the implication was that that same level of cooperation with Gardaí on the front line didn't exist amongst senior management. And there is an enormous problem with senior management inside An Garda Síochána that the government has been blind to and is actually doomed to repeat the same mistakes. Because while we have the future policing roadshow doing the rounds to tell us what the Garda Inspector report told us in 2014. I mean, it's kind of epitomises this government. Loads of announcements, loads of strategy, loads of spin, when in actual fact we all know what kind of needs to be done anyway. But while that sideshow is actually going on, we have this position at the top which sets the tone, which hasn't been filled yet, and there is an urgency in that, and that's why we do support the bill. We want this position filled quickly, but on the right basis. I mean, Deputy Wallace is right. We were told we have a new system of promotions here, and this is in essence a promotion. But we know that under the new system of the policing authority supposedly vetting senior appointments inside An Garda Síochána, that very recently senior promotions have been made with some people being appointed who are the subject of disciplinary investigations, and we were told that that couldn't happen. So we have a senior officer who gets promoted even though he is the subject of an investigation as a result of a complaint of bullying and harassment by a whistleblower. Absolutely unbelievable stuff. And what makes it more sad is that it is in your own constituency, Minister. We know that two young people have died in your constituency. A young man and a young woman have died as a result of the drugs trade in the Midlands. a drugs trade where it has been established that Gardaí are involved in that trade with drug pushers in that area, and not a single person has been charged. And the Garda who came forward with evidence of that, his complaint, not only has it not been investigated, but the subsequent bullying and harassment complaint that he put in against a senior officer in that area, that senior officer was promoted a number of weeks ago. I mean, you couldn't make it up. So what we have is a narrative telling us from the government that, yes, we've learned the lessons, we're on the right road to a new transformed police force, but the reality on the ground is very different. And it's not just in Kerry, shocking in all as the information that Deputy Wallace put on the record. It's not just in Kerry. The involvement in the drugs trade is in your own backyard, and that, to me, more than anything else, says that there is really no appetite for reform in this area. So we will support the legislation today, but you know, a lot of it is for show. We need a lot more delivered than what we've had so far.
That's section one. That section one. Stand part of the ballot.